God's help. My name is Rabbi Loeb. I grew up in Kiryas Joe in the Satmar community, and then I get married. I was living in Brooklyn for about 12 and a half years, and then I come back because of the issues in Brooklyn with housing. It's very expensive. Then I come back about 5.5 years ago, and I was living in Kiryas Joe for 4 years, and the last year I'm living in Bloomingdale. I grew up in Satmar. Today there are many sects call themselves Satmar, but we follow the teachings of the Grand Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, who passed away about in the year 1979. That we have to be traditional Jews without any changes from our parents and grandparents. And included in that concept is also, he was a very big fighter against Zionism, the state of Israel, because according to the Torah we have to be humble and peaceful in exile to invade the redemption of God, which will be in a metaphysical way. The Zionist does, unfortunately, in the name of the Torah, they kill Palestinians and so forth, everything what they do. The whole concept to create the state, even without killing, is a problem. So the same thing is also regarding our neighbors in upstate New York and elsewhere, that we have should be very peaceful and humble. Totally contradicts, totally up, yes. Because first of all, you look on the Zionists, the leaders, most of the people, they are not religious, they are not observant to religion. And that's because Zionism, even some people call themselves religious Zionists, it's false, because according to the Torah, there are 3 oaths God gives the Jewish children when he sent them into exile. It's like a father punished his son and told him, if you are not behaving well, you have to go out from the house. And you wait until I will take you back. And then if the child will break the windows and come in and say to his father, look, I'm laughing on you, I'm here, it's a terrible audacity and chutzpah. So this is what the Zionist does. God tells us, you should be in exile, it's for you like a medicine, because being in exile, the main thing, the main issue which makes a man sin is if he is very strong with himself. But when he's a guest in another's house, he is a little more ashamed. He will not do everything what he is doing in his own house. So this is the concept of exile. You should be for a period of time in exile, and then you will not be your own boss. You will not run your own land, your own villages, your own towns. You will be under the non-Jewish people. And this is for you, the recovery, and then in that time you will repent to God. This is what God wants from us. So to break this, and also he was giving us 3 oaths that we should not encounter to go and mess to the Holy Land until he would make the redemption, and also that we should not antagonize the nations wherever we reside, of course not to make a rebellion, which in fact, this is one of the issues I mentioned here, for the government, that if you look in the history, all rebellions which was coming from Jewish people was ever from people who left tradition, left Torah, became more secular, like in Russia, like in Austria, in Hungary. Ever the traditional Jews was ever loyal to the government. Let me go back to the 3 oaths: not to go en masse, not to antagonize our neighbors, and not to push with some metaphysics, not to push God to bring the redemption. We have to pray for that and to do good, to behave well, but not to force them. It's a long concept. It's not for now to understand the issue. But so this in our Grand Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, he made a big book, and it's called Ve'ol Moshe Against Zionism. And he started a book that he's sure that the terrible punishment of the Second World War for Jewish people, where 6 million Jews were killed in such a tragic manner, was because of the plans of helping the Zionists in all the years before, to create the state, to help them with money and funding and so forth. And because in the 3 oaths God gave us was a part of that if you will break the oaths, then your flesh will be everybody will be able to do with you what he wants, like the animals in the field, which everybody could catch them. So it's a terrible punishment, and unfortunately that happens, and this is what we believe in. Let me tell you, the Torah is very big in it, and on every inch from our life, we have recommendations in the Torah how to behave and how not to behave. So, to gain political achievements, to have own politicians, we have of our holy sages. They told us very clearly that we have a big rabbi. He passed away before the Second World War in Hungary, in the city of Kassel. His name was Rabbi Sholbrach, of blessed memory, and he wrote clearly that the issue of votes at all, if the government are not forcing us to vote, like in some places in Australia and so forth, it's better for us not to take a part in the votes at all, because it's an honor. It's an honor. The government gives the honor for the people of the land to create governments, to choose. But it's an honor, but we are only, according to the exilic statute we are here, according to this, we are like guests. So we left the honor for the people of the land. They should vote themselves who they want. And unfortunately, many people do not follow this. And also some places, some rabbis give permission to vote, but of course, when it comes to issues like that with the Jewish votes, you should take over the whole area, and like changing from a rural character to an urban, to a city, which is not human, and it's against the Torah, because we know that in all the places in upstate, many people have lived here, and they choose the place to have quiet, nice, rural character, and they pay a lot, and they have to travel, and they want that because they need this lifestyle. So it's not human to come and to ruin that, and it's also against the Torah, because you're not allowed to make hatred to our Jews. You're not allowed to do anything which could bring hatred from your neighbors to us. So we feel it's terrible. It's not allowed. It's not kosher. It's not human. School district is also a long issue, besides the problem of taking over from the non-Jews and cutting the teachers and so forth, many hundreds of people losing their jobs. There is some issues, some people say they have to do that, and because they say we pay many taxes and we didn't use the services, so we have to balance the concept. But first of all, there's another issue, another big problem, a big challenge. According to the Torah, Jews are not allowed to run secular school districts. This is also it's regarding also the KJ school district, which the ultra-Orthodox real Jews has fighting from the first day of its inception, for the same reason that we can't be a part of running a school district which is secular. That means taking out the name of God. God forbid. So it's a big sin to do that. So therefore, it's the same problem as also if Hasidic people, Jewish people, go into the Islamopol school district and they be the board members. That means that they have to agree to fund also all secular stuff. When I mean secular, I'm speaking about, there's two parts you're calling secular. You can call secular to teach math and 3 hours. You can also call secular teachings. But I'm asking now about secular, like, and the concept which is translated today, against God, unfortunately. So this is one big issue. And the other big issue is, like I mentioned, you're not allowed to bring hatred to the Jewish people, to put them in danger. Because every time when there's tension, every time some people could go so a long way, they could take. I would not like to make it more clear. I know. I assume everybody understands what I'm saying. It's good, like it was stabbing and killing, God forbid. So it's a danger for Jewish people. So therefore, we have to condemn the takeover of the East Ramapo School District, especially when we hear the consequences that so many hundreds of people losing their jobs, and they call it programs of music. Because I spoke to the Monsey Hasidic people, and they told me about the taxes, and so I asked them a question. According to you, I'm not agreeing to the whole concept of going into taking over the East Ramapo School District, but according to you, you was right if they was going into the East Ramapo School District, and whenever some people try to make the taxes higher, you should stay up and say, no, we can't afford that, we are homeowners, we pay so much, it's too much for us, we can't pay more taxes. Then I would understand from your point of view that you rescue your people from paying more taxes. But if you go and you create a mess for the non-Jewish people, because as I understand, as I learned from Mara Woodbury School District, the whole area is described on how the school district looks. If it's a good school district according to the non-Jewish people, then people will move in and businesses, or everything will thriving, everything will be better. But if it's a weakened school district, everything will go down. So you're not allowed to do that. You want to rescue from taxes, so I'm not agreeing with the whole concept, but even according to them, if you are going into and you say, no, please, I can't, we didn't fund any more taxing, I understand that from their point of view, but not to do that. And this is actually when I spoke to my people. I'm also a reporter. I have a hotline, and I have many listeners. And I tell them, you know what's going on. You know how many teachers and bus drivers lose their jobs. You know that until today, many programs are cut of this school district. You know that it's makes suffering. Like I mentioned, for the whole area, people got shocked. Oh, we never got this information. We only know that before the votes, we have huge placards, huge propaganda that in order to rescue the Judaism and education and everything, you have to vote for that and for that and for that and for that, which is, and sometimes are the developers and so forth, other people who have their interests to bring in politicians will be very nice to them, but it's not really what they say to our people, especially if they hide what's going on into the problems causing for the non-Jews, which everybody understands. Like I mentioned, if you do that to you, first of all, it's not allowed, according to the Torah, to do that for your neighbor. And it's not human, especially it could bring to danger also. So, therefore, we have to be vocally to condemn that. Secular education, it could mean that, it could mean that. Originally, when the government in America has choose to separate religion of church of state, was not their goal to take away religion from America. On the opposite, they put in God we trust in all the churches and all the courthouses, in the schools. They have like the Ten Commandments from Mount Sinai. So the reason was only not to look like Spain and other places where the government was from one kind of religion and they forced everybody to become Christians or Muslims and so forth. But unfortunately, in the last, I would say about 80 years or more, it was in the 1960s, in the 1960s, they call it a secular and sexual revolution. And some people tried to change the whole concept of America, which became like against religion, not only separating church or state like the founders of America want. So there's a big difference. If we are allowed to teach our children the 3 R's, like reading, writing, and arithmetic, and this is for a sole purpose that we should be able to be good loyal citizens, to get to read the government letters, to understand, to be able to make business. But when it comes to if you mention history or science, if it's combined with anything contradicting our religion, we can't teach that. Let's say I give an example to the regions when I went to them. I went to Regent Johnson the first because she was the regent of Monroe too. She passed away. So I told her that we have a belief about the years of the creation. We believe that the world is now 5,780 years old. So if we have any book which is saying that the world is 10,000, 20,000, million years, that's all called heresy. We can't teach that to our children. We have to give our life not to agree to such teachings. So some history is not a problem, but some history is a problem. Same thing with science. If you want to teach us science, how a tree is growing and so forth, there's one issue. But if it comes combined with heresy, especially evolution and so forth, we have to fight with all our possibility. We have to go to jail to give our life for that, not to surrender. And even some issues which are not quite clear against the Torah, but we can't change our structure of our schools. Like I mentioned earlier, Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, he was the follower of, because about 200 years ago it was started the Enlightenment movement in Europe. And it was the same thing like today. Some people like Moster Yafeh, they say, the Hasidic and the Orthodox Jewish people, they didn't receive enough secular education and they have to be more and more and more. The fact shows that those places who accept their attitude, their behavior, and they start learning more and more and more, with the time, their Jewishness disappeared. They became non-Jews, they assimilate, they marry with non-Jews. So our holy sages put very strong structures, not to change nothing. Our institutions here in America was built on that condition, not to change nothing. We are allowed to teach what I mentioned earlier, but we can't change nothing. Hi, my name is Rabbi Loeb from Hasidic Peace International. We come here today in the Rockland County Legislature to let the world know, especially the people of Rockland County, that the Hasidic people, we are in support of the Honorable County Executive Ed Day, long live Ed Day. And also we have a message for Mr. Aaron Weider and all politicians like him who antagonize our county and state officials. Unfortunately, that they are not representatives. According to the Torah, we have to live humble and peaceful in all the places we are residing in exile, and we strongly condemn Mr. Weider. Our message is, Aaron Weider, be ashamed, don't speak in our name. We pray to God constantly. We should be able to live in peace and harmony in all the places with our neighbors. According to the Torah, we are against the black vote and all such actions to take over municipalities and attacking the neighbors. And we pray to God for peace and harmony. Don't speak in our name. Aaron Weider, be ashamed. Don't speak in our name. Aaron Weider, be ashamed. Don't speak in our name. Aaron Weider, be ashamed. Don't speak in our name. Aaron Weider, be ashamed. Don't speak in our name. Don't speak in our name. Designiert van dit. Schneid die Gast, du sitzt jetzt nicht He is very interesting when you're asking about him, because when he starts to run for school district about 10 or 15 years ago, he was saying in all the Jewish publications and radios and wherever he has a place to speak or to write, that he will be very, very careful of the non-Jewish people, not to bother them. And he gave an interview, I remember, about 13, 14 years ago, and he say, when I'm running for elections, I'm not only going to the Jewish people, I was knocking on the doors of all my neighbors all kind of communities in Rockland County to beg them for they support me because I will be in support of them. So, and again, many times he's saying like that. So, me and other people, I'm not familiar, so quite clear what's going on in Muncie. I felt, oh, he's a good guy, because even though it's not good for us to have elected officials, but he's saying again and again that he will be very, very careful to handle the issue according to the exilic concept, not to be antagonizing. But about a year ago, I heard maybe throughout the years some things, the East Ramapo School District is a destruction, but I never get the real information what's going on, and also who is to blame and who not. About a year ago, I have a friend told me, Mr. Reader is terrible. He's antagonizing, he's doing evidence, I see the content of his speeches and so forth. So I felt it's terrible how he handles. But what I meant to say, that the people in Muncie will never agree if any politician will run for his chair and he say to the Hasidic community, I will be a strong fighter against Adai. I will fight and I will antagonize. People are because most people are followers of Grand Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, of the true Torah, to be nice to your neighbors. So they will never say that they are going to do some kind of antagonizing and so forth. What they say is, look, we try to go with peace, but sometimes this man, they only want to destroy. And so it's very confusing. People get confused. And you understand, every time propaganda works. So if they have money to make propaganda, they are able to pull people to the votes. But now I know for a fact, many people, not only in Muncie and Monroe and all the places where the citizens reside, that many people are waking up to look, to think for themselves, and not to be like sheep, to believe every propaganda and to go vote according to that. Look, anti-Semitism means anti the children of Sam, of Semitic. First of all, the Arabs are also Semitic, because the Zionists, they do whatever they want. They kill, steal, make wars whenever they want. And if someone has the audacity to tell something against them, they say, oh, anti-Semite. It's not true at all. If I go to another man and the guy and I hurt him, and if he get angry, it's not anti-Semitism at all. It depends. If some people hate Jews because they are Jews, that can be called anti-Semitism, but not if there is hatred because of other issues which are not the best issues to do. So the same thing I say again and again to my people, that the whole concept of having small villages and towns is like, they're all like miniature Israels. They behave not with wars by tanks, but it has the same attitude, the same on a miniature kind. So the screaming anti-Semitism is also on the same manner. We are allowed to do whatever we want, and if you tell something, you're anti-Semite. It's ridiculous, and it's not true. And in fact, I'm always saying a joke about that in our communities, but the real Orthodox Jewish people, if my frigidaire got broken, they say, oh, look, this is such an anti-Semitic frigidaire. and this is one part of the issue. And the other part of the issue is that even when we have to do with real anti-Semites like Hitler, it's also the approach was ever in exile to do like Jacob was do to his brother Esau in the Bible. He bring them nice gifts, give him a lot of animals, about 500-600 all kinds of animals, a nice gift, and then his brother was his best friend. So this was the Jewish behavior all the years throughout the exile for 2,000 years, until the Zionists about 100 years ago, they came and they create a new kind of Jew, to be strong, not to bow for nobody, not to be like Jacob. They're laughing the whole day on this kind of the exilic Jew, which was for 2,000 years. And our work is to condemn Zionism, condemn so-called anti-Semitism criers, and that even with anti-Semites, is only the only approach we have is to do like Jacob. But this is not the issue here. When we have people crying for issues bothering them, really, they have some valid concerns. Is anti-Semitism not the issue? The biggest misconception I feel is that people are looking on all the community, sometimes because of the votes, but the fact is they are looking on our community, that when you see Mr. Weider or some other officials antagonizing ADA, screaming that he's anti-Semite, or not only ADA, everybody, when they scream on some politician or some people. People should know that they speak for themselves. When Weider speaks, he's speaking for Mr. Aaron Weider, not more than that. Even though he has many votes, but his voters was not familiar when he's supposed to stand up and doing what he's doing. They was not knowing that, and when they get the knowledge, they get shocked. And the same thing was in Monroe. We had Mr. Sagadin, he was the village clerk, and many times he antagonizes our neighbors. But our people don't read the outside newspapers. They didn't have any knowledge. Most of them didn't have any knowledge what's going on. Many of them have the knowledge, but they didn't have it's very hard to be vocal to fight that. But I have many relatives and family members, and I ask them, are you supporting this party or this party? Did you know what Mr. Sagadin wrote this week in the letter to the non-Jewish people? And they get so shocked, they felt so misrepresented. And I remember sometime when Mr. Sagadin was he wrote a letter to all the villages and neighborhoods surrounding Kiryas Joel, that if you will not give us the annexation, then you will suffer of an overflow and the Jewish people will cause you so much problems. It's a really terrible thing to do. He put us in danger, all the Jewish people who went outside to live for some reasons. Actually, we went to have a nice, peaceful, quiet, private home ownership, not to be like high density and so forth. But he, for his goals, he put us in a real danger by putting these libels and so forth. So, in the same time when he was putting this letter to all the neighbors, in the same time, in his Yiddish newspapers, he or one of his people wrote an essay that Mr. Sagadin, the village clerk, put a peaceful letter to all our neighbors. They call it peaceful. People see, oh, look, he's working peaceful, very good. This is how he has to behave. So if this is peaceful, you can understand what's going on. Our core message is, with God's help, we are Jewish, ultra-Orthodox, Hasidic people. We want to live in peace and harmony with our neighbors. And the whole concept of living in peace and harmony is because of our good education to be traditional Jews. And don't look on some bad behaviors like taking over, that this is the fruit of our education. This is not. Because this is only happening when people are not familiar with what's going on outside. Of course. That we pray to God constantly for peace and harmony. People should we should be able to live in coexistence. Because even though we are religious and some people has different lifestyles, there's nothing have to do with hatred, and we are not, according to the Torah, we didn't have any command to live in high density housing. We didn't have any command to take over and to create a mess in surrounding our communities. If some people doing that, don't look that this is the will and the wish of the community to do. And most times it's only about propaganda. People got brainwashed. And we condemn that. I think it's quite simple, because let's say what happens in Monroe in the past, before the creation of the town of Palm Tree. What happens was that throughout the village KJ block vote of about 4,000 or 5,000 votes, they put in their candidates and they run the whole town of Monroe. And the other people, most of the town of Monroe feel, and not only they feel, they was misrepresented. They didn't have representation because nobody works for no reason. If some candidate is able to have to win, to have the position without doing nothing for the non-Jewish neighbors, only by feeding the needs of the black vote, nobody will work for tirelessly for nothing. So what our neighbors cry, the United Monroe, they cry, we need self-representation. So if you take away self-representation from people by black vote, it brings not the best results. And actually, our neighbors, they have difficulties to say that clearly because they will be labeled anti-Semite. Some people are also, they could give me and my friends the name self-hating Jews, but we are not afraid of that. And I'm not afraid they can call me anti-Semite also. I'm not afraid of that. So in fact, we understand the issues creating problems to our neighbors, and we try to avoid that, and we have to fight that concept. It's not only my view, it's a thorough demand. We have to be in peace and humble and to respect the law. So therefore, we didn't have any command that we have all to live in Monsey. If, I cried that to my people the whole time, if it was not a bad impression on us because of some actions which I have done in the past by taking over and making black votes and so forth, we wouldn't have any problem to go in a forter place to create a small village there and there and there. Like our grandparents has lived in European countries, they lived in all the villages in the whole, not only in 2-3 places. Why the Hasidic people should live in Monroe, Monsey, and New Square and Finnish in the 5-6 villages? But now, unfortunately, according to the situation, if I have a friend, for some reasons he chose to live in Montgomery. He didn't have a community there, but he was living there. And the first day when he was coming there, all the people all of a sudden they got so disturbed. They feel that, oh, the Hasidics are here, they want to take over the community. And this was not his intention at all. So what he was doing, he told me the story. He's sitting outside of his property. He was rented a property with like orange juice and cookies. And he said to all the neighbors, sit down, I will tell you exactly why I'm here. I'm telling you, I'm the truth. I'm not here to take over nothing. I want to live here peacefully, quietly for me. He told me that 95% of the neighbors was happy in greeting him. Sometimes you have some people who don't believe you. It's a problem. Yeah. But this is what we have to do. And let me ask you a question. What's going to be in 20 years? If we have to, according to the Torah, we have to stay in Monsey. Nobody should move in other places. Then we're gonna have to be on all 4-story house. Today we will have to be 20 stories. Yes, and in 4 years, if the redemption will not comes in time, we pray every day for redemption. But if not, then we will have to make like maybe one day we will have to have like Manhattan only. The skyscrapers and so forth. When is the end? We have to respect our neighbors. If they choose to be a rural character, we should not try to ruin that. And actually, it's interesting. I live in Blooming Grove. Unfortunately, because of many issues, of many reasons, until today, there's not one Jewish kosher grocery here. Everything is coming from Kiryas Joel, everything. So they deliver, and so they are not having even one store specific for our needs here in the area. And so it's very interesting. Usually people love to be in a community which they have all their needs. And here the women don't drive, they need to take cars and car services. But with that, I look and I see that the number of people living here is growing. because the enjoyment of being private house with the landscape, not to be in a high density housing with 10 neighbors above and 10 neighbors down, is much more than the enjoyment to be close to all the stores and all the synagogues and everything. So Hasidic Jewish people are also, besides we are Jewish, we are also human beings, and people love to live private, nicely. There are some developers, we have the same issue now in Blooming Grove. I'm fighting some people, usually is because of the developers. They both use huge parcels of land, and they would like, I understand them, because people need money, everybody needs money. If I have my lot, and I can have one house on that, and if I change the zoning, I can have 30 apartments. You know what means the collecting rent of 30 apartments? It's not so interesting to understand their goal, but if it creates so much mess, if it's bothering for our neighbors, so many things we can do, even we have our evil instincts urging us to do that and that. You have to control your jealousy for money also. I have, actually my street is, today it's most Jewish, but on the other street on Duelki there are many non-Jewish neighbors, and I greet them, I try to live with them very well. And I try to make sure for them that I'm not here to take over, especially when Mr. Sagedin tells all the neighbors, you should know that the people coming out of Kiryas Joe will take over that and that. But you realize it's terrible. It's an interesting question. I believe that all human being has a good part and a bad part.
Yeah.
Most times it could be from all sides of the map. Developers are developers, and they love to gain the most money possible from their land.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to be Jewish for that. It's hard to know because we are not a membership with names printed, this man. But actually, in fact, we are representing the true view of the Torah, which, unfortunately, because of the Zionist influence, even in our communities, which Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum of blessed memory was put so strong structure to be against Zionism, but some kinds of influence of the Zionist behavior to our neighbors and so forth was coming in like from the hole, from the like the rat, like the mice. So actually, this is the Torah vision, and many people. When I and my friends and many things tell them, remember, look, this is what the Torah says. You have to be nice and humble. You don't have to create a mess and to create hatred. You are not allowed to create hatred. So they all agree.